This and much more we'll be discussing. And we're not alone in the studios. We have a friend of the program. He's also a renowned journalist. He's a communications consultant and the publisher of African News 24, amongst other things. It's my pleasure to have Mr. Gboyega Akosile with us on the show. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the program today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really very honored.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a very, very busy weekend.
Yeah, it was.
First journalists, you know, it's from one big story to another big story to yet another one. But let's start with what seems to be the most refreshing of them all, which is the release of the 82 Chibok girls, you know, after 3 years in captivity. What does this release actually signify, especially if we base that on the premise of this administration to actually work tirelessly to seek the release of every single Chibok girl that is still with the terrorists?
Well, first and foremost, the immediate reaction I had when I heard about the release of the Chibok girls was good one for this administration, good one for the presidency of General Muhammadu Buhari.
In terms of achievements?
In terms of achievements,
okay.
Because in Nigeria, we don't take campaign promises into governance a whole lot. People don't ask questions. People make promises, but we're beginning to do that. People make promises when they're going into, during their campaign period. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But, you know, the moment they get into that office, the citizens, we tend to just forget about some of these promises. We don't bother to do our fact, you know, our checks that, oh, guy, you promised us that you would do this when you were campaigning, and this is, you know, almost 2 years that you've been at the saddle. Nothing seems to have been done about some of your promises. However, in the case of the Chibok girls, the APC as a party made it very, they made it a point of their campaign. You know, it was one of the major, if you remember, it was one of the things they used.
It was very instrumental,
against
very instrumental.
the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. And because of the sentiment that was associated with the kidnap of those girls at that time, a whole lot of Nigerians tended to believe that Buhari, as a former military officer, a general for that matter, and a former head of state, would understand, you know, what was going on, and would do something about the release. I mean, being a general in the army is no tea party. It's not a joke. So we tended to believe him, and we say, hey, wait a minute, let's give this guy a chance. If for any other thing, let us get these girls out. These girls are Nigerians. They are your daughters. They are my daughters. They are your sisters. My sisters. Everybody related with that story, and it resonated with a whole lot of us. And a lot of Nigerians, about almost 60% of the people, about 57 or thereabouts, you know, voted for the president, and they delivered the presidency to him. Now, 2 years, less than 2 years, he was able to get the release of
a couple of them.
A couple of them. We jubilated. I remember the fanfare that, you know, greeted the release of the first set of girls. There were
21 of them.
21 of them.
Yes.
And now that we've gotten 82, sorry, it's something of like it shows promises. To answer your question directly, it shows promises that, hey, wait a minute, if they can get over 100 out of about 200, we don't know the exact number anyway. Some say 220, some say 270. Well, you know, there are various figures you know, going around. But if we can get 100 and over 100, you know, girls from these terrorists, I think it shows some of us that promise that this government will do well in terms of that particular campaign promise, and it's a big achievement for them. Although there are other sides of that story, which, you know, I mean,
yes, let's reel in the other side of that story. You know, what worries me, you know, is the news going around that the release of the girls was actually was secured in exchange, you know, for 5 Boko Haram commanders and all of that. Now, exchanging, or should I say negotiation of that sort, you know, with known terrorists, is that in line with international best practice?
I don't know whether international best practice, but I know that every nation has, the way I run my family, you won't come here and tell me that, oh, you shouldn't be running your family that way, because I'm not going to come to you tomorrow to request for money to feed my family, or to look. So sometimes we shouldn't get carried away about some of the things that we write about, and you know, the international world and all that. Yes, we copy some of the things from these superpowers, the Americans of this world, the British of this world, France, Japanese, and all that. We copy from them because we believe that they're better in terms of you know, development. They've been there, they've seen it, and so it's not bad if we copy. And there's nothing wrong if I copy you, Patience. I like the way you present your show, the way you handle it. If I'm going to go on air and present, I might want to borrow one or two things. I do it. Okay? I watch everybody on air, and when I want to go, and I will just tell myself, I like the way she does this particular intro. So why don't I
imbibe?
You understand? So it's there's nothing bad in it. However, I cannot be Patience. No. You know, I have to be me. I still have to be, you know, Boyega. I see that there's a significant part of me that should tell people that this is me. Okay? Although I'm trying to copy one or two things from the way she, or you know, or the way Uche does her stuff. Now, negotiating with terrorists, Americans will tell you that they don't negotiate. That's what they tell you. That's what they tell us. But I know from some of the stuff that we've read, some of the books, you know, some of their
articles,
there's a way that
there are underground negotiations that are not made public.
There are ways they go about this negotiation. And don't also forget that foreign countries were involved in this release. The government of Switzerland.
Yes.
So it wasn't a Nigerian thing alone,
so to say. Okay, let's go to Ibadan for a bit. Let's go get inputs from our guest who is joining us from the station in Ibadan. We have online Comrade Olushola Ogudiro, who is a labor leader based in Ibadan. Good afternoon, Comrade. Thank you for tuning into our program today. All right, we'd like to know if you can hear us clearly, Comrade Ogudiro. Can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I can pick you clearly.
For joining us. All right, we're still discussing the release of the 82 Chibok girls over the weekend, and this is, of course, it has sparked off a bit of celebrations in some quarters, while some still exercise some reservations as to, you know, if this is actually a victory in the true sense of the word. Now, we still have 113 more girls left in captivity of the Boko Haram terrorists, and that's a huge number. It is a huge number. Now, this administration, not too long ago, was quick to say that they've crushed the Boko Haram terrorists, as it were. Now, the release of the 82 Chibok girls recently might look like victory in some way, but do you think that we are really indeed winning the war against Boko Haram terrorism in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. In the actual sense of it, as a Nigerian and as a right-thinking Nigerian, I believe Nigeria is winning the war against the insurgents. And when you look at what percentage of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe State the insurgents were occupying before, compared to where they have been pushed to now at Sambisa, you will see that Nigeria as a country, we have something to celebrate. And part of what we are celebrating is now the release of 103 in total of the kidnapped, let me say, Chibok schoolgirls. It is a victory. People may think that because it was a swap, the negotiation was done from a weaker point, as some will say. We are saying it is a victory. If you are a parent of any of these girls, look at what you have gone through in the last 3 years. Some of the parents are dead now. Some of the parents, they are stricken down by stroke. Some have developed hypertension overnight just because they missed their darling girl. So, for returning those girls, 103 in total now, it is a victory. And I happily rejoice with the concerned family. I also congratulate the Commander-in-Chief, President Buhari, and his team. I also congratulate the Commander-in-Chief.
Opinion, do you think that it was a wise decision for the federal government to have negotiated releasing 5 commanders of the Boko Haram team and then in exchange for 82 girls? Your own opinion, do you think is a good negotiation?
Very much. Yeah. I believe of all the options available, the best had been picked. Remember, these young girls, they are innocent. They don't even know what the insurgents were fighting. They were not involved. But for 3 good years, they are toiled away from the environment they are used to. Negotiating with the insurgents to release 5 hardened criminals, I will say yes. Remember, these ones are criminals. And the government still have, you see, they will go back to meet their colleagues. And the government is still fighting them. I am very sure they are just temporarily released. I mean the criminals. They will meet their Waterloo. But the girls, they are released to their parents. They will be reintegrated back to the society. That is a victory. The released, in quote now, criminals, they are going back into the bush. I'm very sure they are going to continue waging war against the country and put it down very soon. And I'm saying very soon they will meet their Waterloo because they are criminals. They remain one, and Nigeria is going to continue to fight them like criminals, which they are.
You know, I think I agree with you that there's reason for a bit of celebration, or, you know, in all of this, because this is the most, the largest negotiated release so far.
Yes.
You know, when these girls were abducted in 2014, some of them, well, ran away. Some of them took ill. Some died. There's a whole lot has gone on. But then I want to talk about governmental approach to the whole adoption, as it were. It looks like we always adopt the fire brigade, you know, system of addressing issues. Now, you would expect that this administration will put in place some security measures to make sure or ensure that this kind of mass adoption does not happen again, because this has really like put us on the map of the world in a not very good light, if you know what I mean. So what would you propose for this administration to do in terms of checkmating, you know, similar occurrences in the future and to guarantee the safety of the citizenry?
Yeah, if we are talking of similar occurrences in the future and safeguarding the lives of Nigerians, the Nigerian security agencies, especially our intelligence gathering, they have to do more. I wouldn't know if any of us have the experience of being to Yobe State, Adamawa State, and Borno State, if you visited any of their schools, you will see that the schools were built in a very large expanse of land that were poorly, and I mean it, poorly secured. So it's very easy for any visitor to come into the compound, hide somewhere within the vicinity of the school compound, and later on, they strike. Talk less of insurgency, where they were heavily armed. Whatever form of local security that was available then, they would take to their heels. So what I'm saying is Nigeria has to invest more in intelligence report gathering so that we will be able to prepare ahead of whatever might strike. It's not about insurgents alone. Look at the magic this whistleblowing, it's something like that. Look at the magic the whistleblowing policy of the federal government is working. So the same thing like in the intelligence gathering. If we invest in it, we spend more money, we recruit people to come on board, we're very sure that we will be able to prevent a lot of these crashings from insurgents, from criminals, from strangers into our environment. If we are talking of Borno State, we are talking of Yobe State, an occurrence of like that happened in one school in Lagos. Look at Lagos, how densely populated Lagos is. Were the criminals able to find their way into a fenced school environment and also carted away some girls? So it has a lot, Nigeria still has a lot to do as far as security, as far as intelligence report gathering is considered. And I'm very sure if we improve on that, Nigeria is going to be the better for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contributions. Please stand by. We'll be back to you in a minute. Now let's move back to the other matters arising this morning. And another critical issue on the front burner today is the president's illness vis-a-vis his departure from the shores of Nigeria once again. Now it is clear, glaringly clear to everyone that he is indeed ill and really ill at that. But then after so much talk and passing back and forth and all of that, the nature of his illness is still not clear to the majority of Nigerians. Is it right to keep us in the dark as to what is really ailing the president?
Well, I must say that from the point of view of media management, I think those who are managing the president, the communication, have done, fairly well. Okay. Because when you are at this side of the table, the way you think, the way you reason, and the way you would approach things
will be different
from when you are on the other side of the divide. Now, as a journalist, naturally, I would write, I would make noise. Look, we need to know, we have to know. But as a manager, as a media manager, as a communications manager, there are things that I will put into consideration before releasing information. Now, that's not to say that I am hoarding information or I am managing information. So, and a president of a country like Nigeria,
let me butt in. At what point does managing information cross the line into hoarding? Because it's really a thin line.
I know.
Okay, so at what point
now,
really?
when you have to study the sociology of the audience, the way your audience will receive whatever information that you have so released. Now, we have a very hostile audience as far as the Nigerian media space is concerned. Now, I told someone some time ago, one of the ministers, who thought we were his friends when they were in the opposition, when they were still attacking President Jonathan and the rest. Now, he's read some things I wrote. He called me up on a Saturday morning and he was saying stuff. And in fact, the line cut off, the network was bad, the line cut off 4 times. The minister called me all the 4 times that the line, cut off, because he wanted to make his point. that you people are this, that he was saying all sorts. And when I allowed him to finish, and I told him that, sir, we're not your enemies. We were very good friends when you were in the opposition. We've worked with you very closely for about 4 years while you were in the opposition. I said, what do you think we're doing now? I'm going to work with the opposition right now to bring about good governance. Because look, this is a democracy, and the opposition is the underdog. And I need to listen to him because he wants the facts and figures of the matter. So, and if I ask you, give me the facts, and you are not forthcoming, I'll listen to the opposition that, look, tell these people to release information. However, that's not to say that we're enemies. We're still friends. We want Nigeria, we want a better Nigeria first and foremost. Okay? Now, managing information is all right. Because when you look at your audience, you have to think about how will they receive this information.
Sorry, can I
If I tell them, let me make a point, please. If I tell them that the president, hypothetically speaking, has cancer of the lung.
Okay.
Do you know the kind of reaction that will happen? Oh, he has to resign. He has to come down. This, that. You can't imagine the kind of things.
So you're saying releasing the nature or making known the nature of illness of the president to the public will not be handled properly?
I don't think it will be handled.
But
I think it's better the way they are. And I think we should give them some credit.
Okay. All right. We need to take a break to go see a report. And meanwhile, let's quickly let you know that all our social media portals are open for interaction. We already have a couple of them here. Ochefa from Benue State says, thanks to God Almighty for the girls' return. Thanks to the federal government for its tireless effort to ensure the girls' return. I look forward to seeing the rest of the girls. We all look forward to that. Thank you for that. Another one coming from James says, our government has never been truthful to the masses. No one knows the type of negotiations they made with Boko Haram.
That's a good one.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break. We'll go see a report. When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us.
We have survived this torture for almost 3 years. I have made some undertakings on behalf of the country, which I hope, having gone through what you have gone through, that you will mobilize yourself and continue your education under the supervision of the federal government agencies.
Well, the girls, I think the rehabilitation has begun. Having stepped into freedom and they are back in Abuja, I'm sure already their rehabilitation has started with, I'm sure, change of clothes, with medical attention, and with some psychological reorientation. I think they have started.
We'll welcome you back to the program. You're still watching Galaxy Today, and we're looking at current front-burning issues in the country. We'll still have as guest in the studios Mr. Gboyega Akosile, who is a communications consultant and a renowned journalist. Okay, before we took that break, we were actually talking about managing information, especially regarding the president's ill health. You were going to say something?
Yes, I was going to say that.
She was attacking me on why they should release the information.
No, because we had an issue with the former president.
Yes.
We weren't given so much information about him, and at the end of the day, he died. Yeah. So I want to know, is it not a civic right for us to know the state of his health and what particularly he's suffering from? I mean, we should know.
Which I must tell you that it is our right. I'm also interested in knowing what the nature of sickness, the illness of the president.
Yes, let's put a name to it.
You understand?
Yes.
I want to know, I mean, is it malaria, is it
typhoid
or whatever it is, just tell us this is it. But I also know, like I was telling patients the other time, that when you are at this side of the divide, the way you think may be slightly different from when you are on the other side of the table. Okay, now I know that studying the sociology of the Nigerian audience, especially with the coming of social media. Look, the federal government may regret telling the people that, oh, the president is suffering from XYZ. They may regret it. So there are some things you do deliberately for security reasons, knowing the implication of releasing the information. Look, if not releasing the information does not portend any security issue, why should I bother? The most important thing that I need to know is that, one, the president is ill, and we should give them credit that they told us from the onset. The man wrote that I was going. That was the first time that I was going on vacation to see my doctors, that I'm having ear problem. I was then. Now he was having ear problem. He hinted it when he was supposed to come to Lagos. If you remember, he was supposed to come to Lagos on a state visit, and he couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it. So he said he was suffering severe pain in his ears, and when he was going to travel, he said the thing had degenerated, so he had to travel. But everybody started wondering when the man went, and it was like forever, 51 days. Now only here they pay you, and what you understand that kind of thing. So we began to worry and ask questions. So, and when the man was coming back, he had so emaciated that it was visible to all of us that this man was really ill. Okay. And he hinted that it might likely go back. So for me, the question should be, is the man incapacitated? Is it at a point when the president cannot function again? Okay, and for now, I think the man is not incapacitated.
He's not ill to that extent.
I don't think he's
okay.
not ill to that.
Let's go to Ibadan again. Let's go to Ibadan and get the inputs from there. Before we do that, the numbers to send an SMS to are scrolling on the screen. You can also tweet at us or drop a message on our Facebook page. All right, Comrade Ogundiro, I hope you're still online with us. Let's talk a bit about, the president's illness and all the secrecy shrouding the whole thing. Now, there's a new angle to the whole thing, which is word on the street says there's a deliberate attempt to muzzle the media, in all of this. And let's go back in time to history. The infamous Decree number 4 of 1984 was actually enacted during the military rule of President Buhari, So from time, he's a man who has always had a thing with the media. I'm trying to be careful with my words, So that
DSS will not visit you.
Exactly. Like a thing with the media in the sense that information coming out, has always been an issue with him. And then we see that playing out in all of this scenario as well. Now, do you think that there is actually a deliberate attempt to clamp down on the media in the wake of the Freedom of Information law, which we should be enjoying in Nigeria? What's your perspective on that, really?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to take us down, if we must say the truth. What is the level of our information management in Nigeria? If you want one piece of information, what patterns? Don't we even draw patterns that were not meant by the person that released the information? Yeah, so based on that, and knowing who majority of Nigerians are, there may be the need not to reveal everything. But I believe since the ill health of Mr. President, certain fact has been released. One, we all know Mr. President is not feeling well. Taking into cognizance, he's a national leader, but he's a human being too. And for the fact that he's in the public view, that does not mean he has totally submit his privacy. He should still have certain things as an average Nigerian. Of course, he's number one for now. So if you look at it that way, we will say that the way the presidency is managing information about Mr. President's health will still be in order. And like the analyst at the studio has said, if you are a leader and you know how it is, in my own right now, I am a leader. My people want to know all what is happening to me. But I know that some will want to know to play politics with it. Some will want to know to turn it around negatively. Some others will want to know to provide solution, while others will just want to know and know for the sake of it. Now, let us put all this together and put Nigeria population with the advent of social media in perspective and now see whether all should be revealed or not. But that still, you see, the issue of the Punch newsman that was thrown out from the presidency is another thing entirely. And if we look back and say that PMB has issues to grind with journalists, we may not be far from being right. But when we go into the nitty-gritty of it later on, I think some facts will come out. We will know how is the standard of journalism being practiced in Nigeria compared to that in other climes. You see, there are so many issues that will come under this topic we are discussing. But the fact of it is, like the analyst has said, Mr. President has let Nigerians know that he's not feeling fine. That is in a broad way, and is going away for treatment. And while doing that, there were some other leaders that they went away. They never relinquished power until it was necessitated, until the pressure comes. But he has relinquished power. He said the vice president should continue to act in his absence so that there will be no lacuna. Governance will not be in vacuum. Things that are supposed to be done will be done. So what I think now is right-minded Nigeria should be praying that the president should recover very soon and come back to the beat so that governance in Nigeria will know that we still have the number one. Albeit, as a person and as a trade unionist, we believe that it's a joint ticket. Once one is not available and the other is available and he has a full gear of power, governance continues. But as far as information management, the role of journalists, especially Nigerian journalists, one may not be able to say all, and one may not be able to put all the blame at the door of the presidency.
Sir, I am a journalist, first of all, so I'm taking it a bit personal this afternoon. But then let me ask you a quick last question before we let you off. Having said all of this, and also seeing how journalism is practiced in today's current reality, do you think there should really be like a restraint, or should I call it a constraint, on the Nigerian journalists, you know, as an entity now? Should there be some sort of constraint on what or how what is being put out there, seeing that they are really like the middle person between the government and the masses. Yes. The masses look up to the journalists to feed them back, bring them up to speed of what's going on up there. Should we constrain the journalists because we exercise some fears or whatever it is? Should we do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. My answer is both yes and no. Maybe I will pick the yes first. Like some of the factors I had given, I will say yes. You know, the way we practice our journalism leaves much to be desired. Some journalists can do anything for money. They can blackmail. They can sell information cheaply. They wine and dine with some clandestine politicians, and they sell information to them. So when you look at all this put together, you will say, yes, not the word restriction, but I rather use a milder one, controlled. Be that as it may, we know that without information, things cannot be as they should be. And when you listen to the other side, they will tell you they are not actually totally ignore or remove or do away with journalists. What they have done is to control, streamline, and have a manageable number of journalists and their cameramen. And when you look at their reasons, you know, when I first heard it that it's a new form of terrorism, but when I called on somebody to expatiate, he now gave all, like, some of the factors I had enumerated. How will you look at a journalist that interviewed you? You gave information from your own angle, at least from your own informed angle, and the journalist will go around, turn it the other way to put you on the defense. When you look at it that way, if you say terrorism, yes. If you say intimidation, yes. And the fact of the matter is that if Nigerian journalists, they hang on to the ethics of the profession, I am very sure, and I'm saying it, I am very sure, nobody will be able to intimidate them. Nobody will be able to harass them. But look at now the way it is, the intimidator is now saying he's being intimidated just because, had it been look at what happened in the House of Assembly. Before the crackdown, they said there was a charge of misconduct. And the journalists themselves agreed, and they said they will go and settle the matter and, you know, deal with the erring journalists. Unfortunately, I believe, you see, honesty too, as far as I'm concerned, honesty pays. I give kudos to the leader of the journalists for accepting that the fact that, yes, you had said there is a misconduct, we'll go and look into it. But you know Nigerians, before you say 6, they will say it is half a dozen. Whereas 6 and half a dozen, they are the same thing. Where those people are going into for charging misconduct is what actually came on board at last, saying the number of so covering proceeding at the National Assembly will be reviewed downward from 13 to 6. That is exactly what we knew Nigerian politicians for. That's where they were going, but they want you to accept your guilt somewhere, and they will use that hammer down. So when I said yes, that is the reason for saying yes. But if we say no, the journalists, they also have, they are in the line of duty. They have their duty to perform for their employers. Their employers will think they are underproductive. Doing that, they are putting the job of some people at risk. In a country where the unemployment rate is a double-digit percentage now, should that be done? That is a question, a moral question which we want our leadership to answer. Even if they want to do that, the journalists are claiming that in other climes, there should be a central pool where an HD equipment will be installed, and that will not give room for this type of camera, the other type of camera, this journalist and the other type of journalist coming into the National House of Assembly. Has that been done? Now, restricting the number to 6, what they are telling us is that of over 40 or 56, because remember the number was reduced from 40 to 13. Now from
okay, I'm afraid that's the much we can take from Ibadan. But back to you, Boyega. Yeah. You heard everything.
Yeah, I did.
He said. You want to react?
Honestly, we're talking about press freedom. I think we're at a very dangerous precipice right now in Nigeria. I took it very personal. We did the Saraki Senate clamped down on Nigerian journalists, photojournalists, and it's something of an emotional attack on me. I mean, this is a job I've done all my life. I've never written an application letter to anywhere to work other than
the media.
You know, particularly TV and radio. And you know what that means. Yeah. That's my passion. That's what, and not just in TV, but in the newsroom, you know, news broadcast. So when I heard about the story that they've shut out some TV stations from covering at the gallery,
yeah,
I felt like somebody had given me a slap on my face. I was a head of news. I was head of news, head of reportorial, head of political desk. So I knew what it would mean. What it
meant, yes.
You know, if I was sitting today as, say, head of news at Galaxy TV, and you bounce my cameraman from covering for me at the National Assembly, I don't take it easy. And I took it personal. I've been calling some of my colleagues, my mates, my senior, and I've spoken to some people at the Nigerian Guild of Editors, you know, NUJ, and I said to them, I talked to some guys yesterday, that if this matter is not resolved, I'm tending towards unionism now, that if this matter is not resolved, and this is personal, that I'm going to have to take Saraki and the Senate to court. Look, it is high time, I'm over 40, it is high time we began to know that we can do some things. I'm not begging. Look, I'm not at the mercy of any one of them. So I can do this.
It's
you understand?
An issue of exercising one's, human rights. Yes.
How can you restrict me from carrying out my constitutionally recognized job?
Yes. Oh, okay.
On the altar of some flimsy excuse of security.
Let's leave that alone for a bit and talk about, you know, people's ready excuse for always clamping down on the media. And even the comrade in Ibadan also mentioned the issue of ethics.
Yeah.
People always use the ethics of the profession as an excuse. I have a problem with that.
I know.
In a country where
I know about it.
Every certain sector.
You granted an interview and somebody.
Yes, every sector in Nigeria today is not run by ethics. In reality, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So this is a question of who is not guilty casting the first stone.
That's
you can't always hit out at a journalist every time.
I disagree with Mr.
Ogundiran, Comrade
Ogundiran in the area of, you know, the ethics. Yeah, it made some very valid points about the need to self-regulate as journalists, and this is something I know. I've been at a forum by one, I think, Nigerian breweries, you know, where we're talking, and I spoke against my colleagues, and of course they couldn't do anything to me. You know, some of them were calling for my head that day, and I said, look, many of us are doing irresponsible journalism, and those of us who are doing that are making some of us be in the bad light, or because some of us are non-conformist. I am one of them. I will not take some rubbish Okay, we have worked together. So there are some standards that I will just not take. So if we can, I mean, Nigerian journalists can elevate her mindset to that certain standard, I think we would not. Look at what is going on in America. President President Trump is not finding it funny, and the American journalists are not finding it funny with the president. And it's like a serious war between him, between White House and the journalists.
And the media.
You understand? And the media. That, look, mister, you do not want to respect us, we also will not respect you.
Because the media has that kind of power.
Power, yes.
Yeah.
After all, we're supposed to be the fourth estate of the realm. As
So-
it is now, do we even recognize
our place,
you know,
our
that
position?
strata for the Nigerian
we do,
journalists?
my dear sister,
Okay.
we do. But, you know, to what extent do we self-regulate?
Okay.
That's the issue. What is happening at the National Assembly is a pointer. Now, Saraki, his media aide is a frontline journalist, someone who had been there, Mr. Yusuf Olaniyo. That I'm calling him out directly on this program now. I wrote on my social media page that I'm ashamed of him, you know, supporting his boss, that's the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, to bring that kind of policy to bear. It is not necessary. You could have advised him that what happened to screening. Look, people are screened. You can get they have accreditation.
Yes, they do.
Now, if any member of the press misbehaves, just single him out.
Yes,
Deal with him. You
and
can
deal
sue
with
him.
it, yes.
You can bar him from, you know, covering the
Rather
National
than
Assembly.
put a blanket
rather than say
yes,
all
okay.
of you.
Yes.
So that's
Our
my
time is seriously up.
so so we should leave,
up.
they should
Yes.
leave the media alone, and that'll be my parting note. The presidency too wanted to try it. They tried it with a punch newspaper, and they knew,
And of course, retrace their steps.
They knew
Yes.
what.
Yes,
they
what
knew,
came out of that?
They knew what they were going into.
All right, but I think there should be a bit more cohesion in the presidency in terms of information management and people management too, as it were. All right, quickly to our feedback platforms. People are actually responding. This one is from Belushi Mugabe Nehizena from the Great Benin Kingdom. To me, there's nothing to celebrate. Looking at the appearances of these girls, it does not show they are under terrorism. The girls, I believe, must have been with one of the political leaders of the APC. My people, open your eyes. These so-called Hausa leaders cannot fool people like us. They did what they did to frustrate Jonathan's God. Wow, this guy is full of it. Okay, I have to move on. Some group of individuals are just playing pranks with the well-being of the nation. Another one says, thank God that another set of girls have been released, but releasing terrorists already captured by our military in exchange of the girls, does this suggest we are winning the war?
Yeah.
That's by Eze from here in Ikeja. And lastly, to be candid, this man, referring to the president, of course, is incapacitated. That word
no, it is his
a
doctor
bit
that will say
strong.
that.
He's
The
ill.
president addressed
Yes.
the Chibok girls